Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. We are almost at 230,000 subscribers. We're about 50 or 60 away. So hit subscribe. You could be the 230,000th subscriber. Ladies and gentlemen, in a couple of seconds, you will hear some top respected legal scholars talk about how Trump will get a victory in the Supreme Court. I told you their latest, you can say, decision or arguments opposing the absurd, unconstitutional special counsel requests and their argument against Trump. So hit subscribe. You'll hear the justices. Paul Bartlett, thank you again to my super chat. Thank you so very much, Paul in Australia. Thank you so much. Your support, ladies and gentlemen. Paul, your support has been unbelievable. Thank you so very much. Hit subscribe. This is the Supreme Court blog. Supreme Court appears likely to side with Trump on presidential immunity. I have been telling you this for months. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been telling you this for months, ladies and gentlemen. And if you subscribe to this channel, you will be ahead of the curve. Not to pat myself on the back, but I've been telling you that the president, and Paul Bartlett, thank you again, the president is protected. He can perform a speech without imprisonment, and that is within his duties as president. If he finds credible allegations, if he's given credible allegations of criminal activity within the Democratic Party or within the county and state level, that is a public service to do what he did. Okay, he didn't try to overturn the results through unconstitutional or illegal means. You can level a fraud statute against any living president or any previous president that we've had. That's why they went with a very broad, vague, ambiguous statute. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. He'll get presidential immunity, at least partial immunity. He'll become president, and I've been telling you this for a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to my super chat. Thank you. Let's get started.
All right, let's bring in Greg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst, to weigh in on this. Hey, Greg, what are your thoughts? What's your reaction?
Well, presidents already have immunity from civil lawsuits as long as their actions fall within the outer perimeter of official duties. That was a decision by the High Court 4 decades ago, and it's quite possible, I think, that the justices will extend that civil immunity protection to criminal prosecutions because the exact same reasoning applies. If there was no immunity, the chilling effect on presidential decision makings would trigger paralysis. America would be ruled by a committee of lawyers. So if the Supreme Court does grant, let's call it immunity with conditions, then they'd have to remand Trump's case back to the trial court to decide whether those conditions have been met. Another possibility here is the High Court will say, well, there should be some immunity for presidents. We'll give you a little bit of guidance, but we're sending it to the lower court to figure it out. The Supreme Court has done that in numerous cases, but either way, the process will be time-consuming, briefs, court hearings, a further appeal, so it would seem impossible that a trial could take place before the election.
Couple of things.
The special counsel is part of the executive branch. When he becomes president, and he will in November, he's up in every swing state poll. When he becomes president, he dissolves the special counsel, okay, with a new DOJ. He has absolute authority to do so, okay? Because it was Biden who started this special counsel after the Mueller probe, by the way, found absolutely nothing and exonerated Trump. So it's Democrats who believe in hoaxes and fairy tales and fantasies and conspiratorial nonsense. Trump was never a Kremlin operative, ever. There wasn't even a shred of evidence to warrant an investigation. They literally purchased a compilation of lies called the dossier, Steele dossier, and then got an FEC fine for it. Trump never got a fine by the FEC for the hush money, yet he's the one on trial in New York. By the way, check out the segment prior to this one. There's a congressman in Florida, Congressman Stubbe, in a cross-examination with Michael Cohen. Trump's defense team should really look at that. Michael Cohen states under oath, I mean, he's perjured himself likely numerous times, but he states under oath there were no recordings or emails or text messages pertaining to Trump telling him or reimbursing him for the hush money payments. So why are they listening to recordings now in New York? He's already under oath saying those recordings don't exist. But anyway, let's continue.
Greg, so they'll hear the arguments, but they're also setting up precedent for the future. And we know that there is some immunity, as you mentioned, but will they get into specific arguments about Donald Trump in particular, January 6th, what he said, documents back to Mar-a-Lago took while he was still president technically? Or will this be a general talk about what is too far? If, for example, a president does an Aaron Burr and shoots Alexander Hamilton, had he not been vice president, that will never, you'll never be immune from that.
A president would not be immune from taking the life of another individual because that's an actual crime. A fraud statute is predicated upon intent while you're engaging in legal activity in a broad, ambiguous, Byzantine, all-encompassing plot to deceive. That's why they leveled the 18 U.S. Code 371 statute at Trump. I wrote an article about that in the Federalist years back. It is the most broad, vague, ambiguous legal statute. You could level that against President Obama, Biden, Clinton, Bush, especially Bush, with the intelligence, yet again, that was faulty and wrong. So we can go on forever. But they level these broad, ambiguous statutes against Trump because they don't have any crime that he committed, but they just know he did something bad.
That's extreme behavior.
Yeah, I suspect that they will not get into the Trump case because the Supreme Court, when they took this case, framed the question very broadly, whether presidents should enjoy some form of immunity. So, I tend to think they don't want to get into the nitty gritty of the Trump case itself, even though that's the reason it was brought to the high court.
All right.
When you lawyers often talk about the outer perimeter of presidential action, official duties, what is it? Where is the line of the outer perimeter?
Well, it's very subjective. The fact is this arose back, I believe it was 1982. Nixon had already left office, but he'd been sued by a guy by the name of Fitzgerald. And the Supreme Court eventually took the case, and they said, look, there's got to be some protection for presidents. Otherwise, they won't be able to do their job. They'll be defending themselves in a myriad of civil lawsuits over every decision they make that affects any individual. As I say, the same sort of reasoning applies to criminal cases. What I worry about is, a president who has to make a very immediate and important national security decision, let's say take out a terrorist leader, that could be described as murder. Should a president be charged then with murder when he leaves office?
So the special counsel actually defended President Obama's military interventions, stating, well, when President Obama engaged in a military strike, for example, that was protected because it was part of the public good. So Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, President Obama, Biden, they would say, oh, well, these presidents are protected because even though, for example, in President Obama's case, his intervention in Libya turned it into a failed state. It was a catastrophe in terms of foreign policy. A great many people lost their lives because of President Obama's intervention. He even stated it was his, quote, biggest mistake. But that's not grounds for criminal prosecution, according to Biden's special counsel, because it was in the public interest in terms of foreign policy. Same with Bush, with failed intelligence that got us into never-ending military conflict and counterinsurgency quagmires. The special counsel would say that was in the public interest. So he was authorized, these presidents were authorized under the Constitution to engage in foreign policy that resulted in the loss of life and ruining a great many lives in the United States of America and a loss of life in America. All the American soldiers who lost their lives and were injured and still suffering to this day, the special counsel says that's going after Trump says, well, it was in the public interest. Now they're going after Trump because they're saying that Trump, in a speech that complained about the results 4 years ago, was not in the public interest. He was a private citizen, even though he was president, and his speech and his efforts to find whether or not Democrats and others, state and county level officials, committed crimes falls within a personal and unconstitutional endeavor. The problem, however, is that number one, he was given credible evidence of possible wrongdoing. Number two, he never got a chance, and this is something the Washington Post and New York Times and every other publication, MSNBC, CNN, never acknowledge. He never got a chance to cross-examine people under oath via congressional testimony or testimony in courts. The same county and state level officials that debunked Trump did so with journalists intent on debunking Trump, who were lifelong liberal Democrats who were like activists. So the fact check and the debunking and all the journalism and the investigative journalism was all, let's make sure that any rational critique Trump makes is refuted by a county or state level official. Well, that answer from the county or state level official could possibly be different if it was under the penalty of perjury, under oath. Trump never got a chance to litigate his claims the way the Mueller probe was litigated, and the Mueller probe found nothing. But it started off with less evidence, and then they continued their maniacal quest until finally they found absolutely nothing. For like a year and a half, 2 years, Trump never got that. He got a couple weeks, no investigations, quick, state and county level probes, and that's it. Nobody testified under oath. But anyway, let's continue.
Over something like that when he's protecting America's national security interests? I don't think anybody would say so.
Probably
so
the best.
There's got to be some immunity here.
Probably the best example of that, of course, is when President Obama used a drone to take out a 16-year-old American citizen in Yemen. Basically, what we're talking about here is one branch of the government either limiting or basically eliminating another branch of government.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it eliminating, but defining restrictions about what you can and cannot do in terms of bringing a criminal action. And of course, it's propitious now because there's 4 indictments criminally against Donald Trump, which many critics, myself included, believe were politically motivated to interfere in the upcoming election. It's classic lawfare, the weaponization
it's coincidence.
of the law.
Everybody knows it's just a coincidence.
Purposes.
Greg, it's just a coincidence. You're such a conspiracy person.
Greg, really quickly, before we let you go, we want to talk about the New York case because the hush money trial continues day 7 today downtown. And we're expecting the judge to rule on the gag order today. We're also expected to hear again from Mr. Pecker. He's going to take the stand. What do you think? How is he going to rule on the gag order?
Well, he'll probably fine Trump. He's not going to send him to the Hooskow. As far as Bragg's case, I mean, his theory is that it's a crime for a candidate to suppress damaging information. Are you kidding me? That's been going on for more than 2 centuries. No such crime exists in the law. So instead, he charges this cockamamie misdemeanor business records violation, expired, by the way, claims it was done in violation of another state law that prohibits conspiring to unlawfully promote a person's candidacy. Well, first of all, Trump's not charged with conspiracy. Second, the state law doesn't apply because it was a federal election. By the way, the statute of limitations is run on that misdemeanor as well. And finally, it's not unlawful to suppress a story. Gee, Joe Biden did it in the 2020 election, suppressing the laptop story.
It's also not illegal if it's not a campaign finance violation if he wanted to protect his family or wife from embarrassment, which is what Hope Hicks actually stated under oath. And Hans A. von Spakovsky, okay, say that name 1,000 times because the man is awesome. Hans A. von Spakovsky wrote in Fox News and other publications, I believe, years back. We can go, maybe next live stream we'll look at his writing. He was a former FEC chairman. He said there is no hush money case against Trump because it's a personal expenditure in nature if he wanted to protect his family. That's why the FEC didn't find Trump, but they did find Clinton and the DNC.
And by the way, paying money to somebody in exchange for silence, that's perfectly legal. So I think a fair judge would have dismissed this case long ago, but Juan Marchand is either ignorant of the law or I think he's horribly biased, probably both.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
So, like I've been telling you, ladies and gentlemen, for about 4 or 5 months now, I said to you, the Supreme Court's going to give Trump a huge victory. I said there would be a 9-0 Supreme Court victory overturning the Colorado ban. Now Trump is going to get a Supreme Court victory, completely dismantling the special counsel with partial or complete immunity, who knows, but partial immunity, okay? You can't level a fraud statute at a former president. There are too many factors that protect the president in terms of presidential authority and immunity. That's why they level these ambiguous and broad and all-encompassing legal statutes at Trump. Is that really a crime that he committed? Now, with Hunter and Joe, there's possibly, potentially, like the Honorable James Comey said when he was kind of, inquiring whether or not Clinton committed crimes, transferring top secret intel on servers. Potentially, it's a crime. Potentially, other countries, hacked the servers. Potentially, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, we know they were servers for 4 years. Probably they bought them at like Best Buy or Home Depot or whatever, Office Depot. But we potentially the whole planet took the classified data. But of course, that's no reasonable court would indict Clinton. But Trump, with a record-keeping crime, imprison him forever. This is future and former President Trump.
Thank you very much. So we begin again. This is a case that should never have been brought. Every single major legal scholar, Jonathan Turley, Greg Jarrett, Andy McCarthy, Dershowitz, every single scholar, Mark Levin, the great Mark Levin, had a whole show on it last night, said that this is a disgraceful case. It's a disgrace to the New York state and city court system. And all of the cases are, frankly, all of them are. You probably saw last night that Jack Smith got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It was released late last night, and it's a big story. The documents case is a hoax created by them for election interference purposes. And so that one looks like it's going asunder. A brilliant judge saw some facts, and I haven't read what was revealed yet. It just came out. But the document hoax is indeed a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. All of them are hoaxes, including the civil cases. They're controlled by the White House. They're controlled by Democrat judges and prosecutors that were put there specifically. They hate Trump. And the people are getting it. That's why we just came out. A new Emerson poll just was released about 2 minutes ago. And I'm leading by a lot in every swing state and leading in the general election. And you saw the CNN poll. I'm sure they aren't too happy with it, but the CNN poll was fantastic. So we're here. This is a hoax. This is a judge who's conflicted. badly, badly, badly conflicted. I've never seen a judge so conflicted, and giving us virtually no rulings. I hear I'm not even allowed to say advice of counsel. This is a new one to me, advice of counsel. When you have a lawyer and the lawyer does something or advises you on something, you say advice of counsel. He said you're not allowed to say that. And so you'll all figure it out, but I think the public has figured it out because the poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. And I appreciate you've treated me, actually, I thought quite fairly, at least the people here, which is a lot of people. And I appreciate that. The Biden protests that are going on are horrible. It's all caused by him because he doesn't know how to speak. He can't put two sentences together. He's got to get out and make a statement because the colleges are being overrun in this country. The anti-Semitism, all of the problems going on, they're being overrun. I've never seen anything like it. He said he ran because of Charlottesville. Well, if the people that know Charlottesville, when you extend the statement, it's a big hoax what they say was said, and they understand that. And Charlottesville.
Randy, thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. Paul, everyone here, thank you so much. Tough it out, thank you. To my super chat, thank you so very much. Randy, thank you again. That was an example of journalism that turned into propaganda, or propaganda masquerading as journalism. That day, that fateful day in Virginia, terrible day. Trump condemned the 1930s and 1940s Germans like 3 times in his speech. And he was signing a veterans' health care bill he had literally nothing to do with that day. They were supposed to be police and all that, but that's another story. Okay? And so they said, oh, he said both sides. He was trying to praise the 1930s and 1940s Germans. What a lie. That is the greatest information that misinforms, hoax, conspiratorial nonsense. All people had to do was look at the transcript, listen to the actual C-SPAN or Forbes or Forbes Breaking News or, actually, like it was, you could see it on the internet. You could see his actual speech. He said, when he said both sides, he meant people who were trying to keep statues up, Civil War statues up. That's another story in debate. It wasn't the 1930s and 1940s Germans holding torches. So he never praised them. He condemned them. And he was talking about good Republicans and good Democrats, or good liberals and good conservatives. But oh my God, yet another hoax. Then he said, he said Drano, liquid Drano. No, he didn't. My God, no, he didn't. He never told, he suggested. They use these words. It's called, George Orwell called this tactic verbal refuse, utilizing euphemisms and deceptive words, and he suggested. He never suggested anything. So it's like, then he downplayed. He never downplayed anything. He downplayed, you know what? More people lost their lives from you know what in Biden's first year. Literally everything is worse under Biden's tenure. Literally everything's worse. And still, the morally superior liberal Democrats will vote for him. Well, not really. He'll lose. I think it'll be Hillary Clinton. Honestly, I can't imagine Hillary not looking at mashed potato brains and saying, what? Let's do this all over. Let's do this all over again. I can't imagine Hillary not, there was a Lionel Richie song, do it one more time. Like something like, she wants to become president one more time. Just give me one more chance, this heart of mine. Something like that. She wants one more chance at the presidency. I mean, I can't imagine mashed potato brains going at it, but anyway.
Those peanuts compared to what you're looking at now. This whole country is up in arms, breaking into colleges, knocking the hell out of Columbia University. I mean, they took over. I know the building very well. They took over a building. That is a big deal. And I wonder if what's going to happen to them will be anything comparable to what happened to J6, because they're doing a lot of destruction, a lot of damages, a lot of people getting hurt very badly. I wonder if that's going to be the same kind of treatment they gave J6. Let's see how that all works out. I think I can give you the answer right now. And that's why people have lost faith in our court system. So the Biden protests are a disaster, and he hasn't even made a statement because he's not capable of making a statement. I'm still waiting for him to debate. He said on the very lowly rated Howard Stern show, he said very strongly, "Oh, I want to debate. Well, we haven't seen it.
The very lowly rated Howard Stern show.
But we would love to debate anytime, and I think it's a good time to have a debate, even though it's early. But 6 months is pretty close. November 5th is going to go down as the most important day in the history of our country, because we're going to turn our country around. Our country is going to hell. It's going to hell. It's very sad to see. But November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. So I'm going to go into this trial. I'm going to sit in a freezing cold ice box for 8 hours, 9 hours.
The freezing cold ice box. I think he's making a reference to the, I guess the air conditioning is on, it's too much, it's too cold in there. Henry, I am not deleting anything. I think it's probably the algorithm. I apologize for that. David, thank you. Randy, David, thank you so very, very much. Paul, thank you again. Toughen out, thank you. To my super chat, thank you so much.
Hours or so. They took me off the campaign trail, but the good news is my poll numbers are the highest they've ever been, so at least we're getting the word out. And everybody knows this trial is a scam. It's a scam. The judge should be recused, and he should recuse himself today. It's the most recusable judge I've been. It's called recusal abuse, and he should recuse himself today. And maybe he will. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll do the right thing. But really, more importantly than the recusal, he should terminate the case today. The judge should terminate the case because they have no case. As Jonathan Turley said, as all of them said, every single one of them, Dershowitz.
Why is Trump constantly winning Supreme Court cases? Because everything leveled at him is unconstitutional. That's why. Even the liberal justices sided with Trump against Colorado.
McCarthy, everyone, Greg Jarrett, Mark Levin, they all said this case should be ended immediately. This case is over. It should be ended immediately. And many of them are not fans of mine, but they want to do the right thing for the country. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go into the icebox now and sit for about 8 hours or 9 hours.
I'm going to go into the icebox. It's so funny. I'm going to go into the icebox now. He's talking about the air conditioning. I mean, I can't stand when the air conditioning, if it's humid outside, I get it. You want it cool. But if it's like an icebox, that's not fun for anyone.
I'd much rather be in Georgia. I'd much rather be in Florida. I'd much rather be in states that are in play, states that, I'd like to be able to campaign. Biden's out campaigning, if you call it campaigning. He can't campaign because every time he opens his mouth, he gets in trouble. But Biden is out campaigning very nicely. I think when I start campaigning, he'll stop. He'll go back into his basement. But I want to thank everybody. You've really been treating me very fair. I want to thank
He'll go back into his basement.
Thank Time Magazine. They did a cover story, which is very nice, and it's actually there's at least 60%. It's at least 60% correct, which is about all I can ask for. So I want to thank.
The Times story, by the way, is what Trump is going to do in his second term. Oh no! I read it, but I don't remember them talking about how he's going to make the economy better, like when we had record low poverty. Trump's major objectives is number one, to make the economy better, and number two, to ensure that we're not less safe abroad in terms of foreign policy, to fix all the foreign policy catastrophes of Biden.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Are you going to pardon the
When they say, are you okay with Trump's second term? Yes. And they're like, oh, well, he's going to do this and that in terms of immigration. It's like, well, no, he's not, because it's not going to get through Congress, number one. Number two, people who commit criminals who enter the country through unlawful means. If you committed a crime in the U.S., okay, if you committed a crime in the U.S. and you're here you're here in an unlawful manner, why is what Trump's thinking, how is that immoral or unjust or unconstitutional or un-American? Okay, I'm not talking about like women, children. I'm talking about if you committed a crime or numerous crimes, or you committed crimes before entering here. How on earth is what Trump is saying wrong? But anyway, let's continue here.
What do you make of my points? I mean, the reason we're in the Supreme Court is because the Department of Justice, this Attorney General, and this prosecutor are doing things that normal administrations will not do. They're pushing the edge of the envelope in every respect, no?
Mark, I think you nailed it in your monologue. I'm so glad you brought that out, because everyone, of course, is talking about the Supreme Court and what are they going to be doing about immunity. The Supreme Court has never had to hear a case like this because no president in the history of the republic has tried to prosecute one of his predecessors. That is crossing a Rubicon, and it creates a terrible incentive for future presidents, because now they always have to be worried. They always have to be looking over their shoulder that some president in the future is going to go after them. So what you have here is the absence of statesmanship, leadership, common sense. There are no doubt presidents in the past who might have done things that other people might have thought had been criminal, but future presidents always thought it's in the best interest of our country to pardon a Nixon, to get past controversies and look to the future and do what's best for the American people. Unfortunately, it's Joe Biden who has triggered this constitutional crisis by continuing to press this special counsel investigation. And that's where the fault really lies in all of this.
And you know, John, I'm listening to some of these justices, and they have been sucked into this world. I mean, I'm listening to Barrett. These 9 justices are going to sit there, and the president is sitting there having to make decisions. They're going to hit this play. Potential, truly, empower.
It'll be because it wins this case,
like they do in these fascists and Marxists.
Amy Coney Barrett actually pushed back a good deal. I think it was going to be 6-3, maybe 5-4, but they're going to hook up Trump with a huge, huge constitutional victory.
Regimes.
If Donald Trump wins this case, it'll be because of that exact point. It's because let's just stop and talk about the future, because that's what's important. And the question is, what is this going to do to presidents when they have to make the hardest decisions for the country? We want them to think about, oh, is my successor or my political opponent in the next election, who's already going to get the nomination from his party, are they going to turn the power of the government against me? What we'll end up doing is we'll have presidents who won't want to exercise any leadership. They won't take any risks. They won't make the tough calls because they're going to be worried that some successor there is going to want to throw them in jail. And
so, ladies and gentlemen, what's the timeline here? The timeline is be here every single day. You have May this month. You have June, May, June, July, August. Okay. Now we're going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning of the 7th game of the World Series. September, October, and November. Those 3 months will be politically the most interesting, fascinating, breathtaking, hopefully beautiful 3 months in modern American history. So Paul Bartlett and Tough It Out and everybody here, please be here all throughout. David and Randy and everyone here, be here all throughout. And Paul Bartlett, thank you so much again. My goodness, thank you, Paul. Be here all throughout November. and beyond. Because what's going to take place, ladies and gentlemen, is you'll have the official decision. They've already decided, but you'll have the official decision in a couple of weeks, probably early June. The special counsel, okay, and then next week or the week after, you might get might get Trump convicted. I think that it's like 60-40 that he gets convicted. I can't predict. Stephanie, thank you. I can't predict what's going to take place because you might have one or two very courageous people. I mean, there's a lot of people who love Trump in New York. Even in New York, they love Trump. Okay, like that amazing construction worker. God bless that man who had a message, But anyway, it wasn't that long ago. It was about 20 years ago. Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York. I had a Republican mayor not long ago. Same with Los Angeles. You'll see eventually Republicans. Eventually, it'll take a while because the cult is very strong within these blue cities and blue states, but it'll take a while. You'll see a sea change eventually, but you're going to get the hush money in May. Then you'll get in June a victory for Trump. The hush money, if he gets convicted, will be a victory anyway. So everyone's going to laugh at that. That'll be overturned on appeal in a couple of years, a year and a half, or maybe the Supreme Court could weigh in. Who knows? Then you have campaigning. Then you have debates. Then you have potentially, I think that they're going to switch horses midstream. And I think that Hillary, I can't imagine Hillary not wanting to be president again. People try to mock me on that, imbeciles out of, for some reason try to disparage me. That why though? They would vote for Hillary again in a heartbeat. So why? I think that I can't imagine them staying with mashed potato brains through November. But I think Hillary will come back again. It'll be like Nightmare on Elm Street, but the political version of it. And I just think that, I can't imagine Hillary Clinton looking at Biden saying, yeah, he's better than I would be. I just can't, I can't imagine that. But anyway, September, October, November is going to be hopefully a very beautiful, important. Gigi Katz, thank you so very, very much. You're the best. I always go to HA. Thank you so much, Gigi. So greatly appreciated. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate it. Gloria, thank you. To the members on this channel, Angie, Henry, everybody here. Thank you so very, very much to the members. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Bartlett, God bless you, Paul, and everybody in the super chat, everybody watching. Thank you so very, very much. I'll see you tomorrow, everyone. This is going to be an amazing, amazing time in U.S. history, a beautiful moment in U.S. history. Trump will come back. Donald Trump, and you could say that H.A. Goodman coined this phrase, is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of American politics. Whatever they do against him only makes him stronger. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel. When they try to ruin him, when they try to destroy him, it only makes him stronger, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Give me